12,000 structures and 40,000 acres of land have burned across the LA area, and many people are worried about the threats that lurk in the air.
Let's bring in postdoctoral scholar David Gonzales. He has a background in the atmospheric chemistry and toxicology of wildfire smoke. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
All right, David, so the air quality index doesn't account for these toxic particles that must be in the air right now. So a lot of people, a lot of families, even if they live miles away from the fire zone, they're checking the air quality in their area and they say, oh, it's okay. Kids are able to play at recess at a lot of schools now. But what is the big danger, the red flag out there?
Yeah, it's a great question. One of the things that the air quality index doesn't take into account is particles. It takes into account the particles and other gases, but the particles themselves, we call them PM 2.5. These are really tiny particles that sort of float through the air and can get lodged deep into the lung and cause health impacts. So the air quality index only takes into account that component with other things. It also doesn't tell you what chemicals are in the particles. So depending on where the particles come from, whether they come from a wildfire, some other urban source, the chemicals there can be different, and therefore the toxicology can be different.
So, you know, in Los Angeles, we're so spread out. It really depends where you are. And many people who say do look up and see a blue sky and they're not initially smelling anything. They're thinking it's fine. Maybe not even checking to see if it's fine. They're just measuring it by their sight and how they feel. Should people continue to wear masks and limit how much exposure they have outside, even if they're in these areas which seem to be okay?
I think that's up to the individual to decide based on their information they have. I would say one thing, if people are concerned about the particulate matter levels in the air, all these different apps that show you the air quality, you can pick a setting where it gives you the particle concentrations rather than the AQI, and that can help you make decisions based off of how many particles are in the air, and if it's something you should protect yourself with an N95 or something like that.
Do you think there's been a lot of damage done to the people who have evacuated, who are kind of nearby these fire zones? They're still wearing masks, but how much damage is done already? Or does this need to be days and weeks before damage is done to people's lungs and their health?
Sure, it really depends on whether there's pre-existing conditions or if they're sensitive to these kind of things. So we can see effects very acutely within just a few hours of exposure. Sometimes it takes longer for others to see health impacts. And then you add on the added stress, maybe you lost your home or just the stress of evacuating. All these kind of things can compound. So, yeah.
Yeah, that is true, right? Stress can lower people's immune system in instances, and that really can be a big factor as far as their health's concerned. Now, in looking ahead, when we do get rain, will that rain send toxic particles up into the air again?
So the rain would wash it out from the air, and then one of the issues is that then it gets on the land, and then that can get into the soil and other things. So it sort of becomes a little bit of a different issue. But the rain generally clears out the particles in the air.
All right, David Gonzales, thank you so much for your expertise and for joining us this morning. A lot of good information there. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.